Okay, I've got my big piece of fabric here and we're going to be cutting our side setting triangles, but first we got to make them to squares. So I'm going to take one end and just cut the selvage off. And then that's going to be my straight edge then. And because the piece is quite large, I'm going to be using my cutting mat as the measuring unit instead of like the ruler. I'm using the ruler as my straight edge, but I'm actually measuring it based off of the mat, the grid on the mat. So, okay, I'm going to line that up there. Okay. And then I am using the lines on the grid with my ruler, lining them up so that I'm straight across there. And then now I'm going to come and clean up the side edges. So I'm just going to put it straight there to give me a straight cut there and flip it. And then I'll back to using my mat. Okay. Okay, so now we have the size square that is going to be needed for our side setting triangles. And we will have to cut it on the diagonal twice. So in order to do that, my ruler is not quite long enough, but I do have this 45-degree line here. And so I'm going to start in a corner and place my 45-degree line on this edge, and then I know that if I slide this to the corner here, let's see if you can see that, then I'm going to get the exact angle that I need. So then I'll start in the corner and cut, and then I'm just going to slide my ruler along the edge of my blade here. I haven't picked up my rotary cutter, and then just continue cutting. Okay, so then actually moved it, but I didn't really want to move it. And then we're going to cut the other direction as well. So same kind of thing. I'm going to line this up here. Okay, and then I'll just start cutting. Okay, there we go. And now with one big square, we have 4 setting triangles. And I'm gonna just stack them up because we're just gonna need one to start with. We have our block here that has the sashing on it, and this is actually the corner piece. So if it's on point, up here is going to be the corner of our quilt. And so we're gonna start adding the side setting triangles first. And so with this one, we are taking the 90-degree edge of our side setting triangle, and we are going to line that up with, this is going to be the bottom portion of our block. As we're working through the quilt diagonally, this edge will be our bottom. And so we're just lining that up, and then you can see up here at the top, this gray triangle does not go all the way to the outside of our side setting little cornerstone here. So it's going to come about halfway, and that's totally fine. That's how we want it to be. So just make sure that this edge is lined up, and then wherever this falls, that's going to be okay. We're going to come back and trim that off later. So then to sew that, we're just going to flip it right sides together. Again, lining up this 90 degrees here, and you can pin it if you want. I may put a few pins in there just to kind of hold it in place to get to the sewing machine. And then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch right along there, and then we'll have that one attached, and then we'll do the same thing to this edge. We will line up the 90-degree part of our side setting to the bottom part of our block, flip that over, And then again, it's not going to come only to like halfway of our corner square, and that's totally fine. That's how it's supposed to be. So, and then we'll just stitch right along there, and then those will be attached. Now I'm going to use my 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm starting at that 90-degree corner there, and we're just going to stitch the side setting triangle to our corner block. Okay, and then I can flip that back and looks good. I'm going to press to the, I'm just going to finger press it, but I'm going to press to the outer side setting triangle piece that we added, so away from the sashing. And that looks good. So then we'll just go ahead and get the other side added the same way. And without flipping it over, I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm not starting at the 90-degree side on this one, but I do have it pinned, and I'll just kind of flatten it out. I know it's going to be about halfway into that triangle, or it's halfway into this cornerstone. Okay, and then we'll just kind of finger press that back out of the way. Looks good. And then the last thing we're going to do with this piece, before it's a row that we're going to add to our quilt, is we're going to put on the corner setting triangle, which that is the smaller square that we just cut in half on the diagonal one time, and that's going to go right here. To attach the corner triangle, I am going to first fold it in half to find the center, and this is of my bias edge, the longer edge. I want to find the center of that, and then I'm going to fold my block in half. I'm going to line up these cornerstones, fold that there, and just give it like a little pinch, and then I can see where that fold is. I'm going to mark it with a pin. And then right sides together, I am going to line up those halfway points and put a pin in there. And again, on the corner of your triangle here, where it's touching our cornerstone, it is only coming halfway through. So that's exactly how it's supposed to be. And so we'll just start stitching there. And then it ends halfway through the cornerstone on this side. So let's stitch that. Okay, and then I'm going to finger press that back, again, pressing the seam towards the side or the corner setting triangle that we just added. And there we have the corner piece of our first row is completed. Okay, so now we're going to add the corner piece to our first row, and I'm going to put those right sides together. And this is where it starts getting really fun, because we're going to have the sections just going to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So just take it slow. This is where we're going to want to use pins, because we definitely don't want things to shift at this point. And so I'm going to start matching up the corner squares to the side sashings on our row. So I'm lining up this row of sashing to this cornerstone and this row of sashing. And so that's where I'm putting my pins because I want those to kind of nest together. And then I'm going to do that at each intersection. And then again, I'm just going to let that triangle come out to the end, and it's going to be a little bit half or more through that corner square piece there, but it's not going to match the end, so it's okay. It's going to overhang quite a ways, and that's fine. We're just going to start and stop stitching where that starts right there. So I'm going to do the other side as well, so just lay that flat on there, smooth it out, and then we'll pin the end. Okay, and then we can stitch that into place. Okay, I want to touch base here a little bit and let you know how the progress is going. So I have this section all the way done. So that half is done. And then I went ahead and did this half here. And I know you probably can't see the bottom there, but I've got all the side pieces added, the corner here and the corner there. And then all I have left to do is put the final row of sashing onto this part. Then I'll join this section to this section and then add that corner piece and that corner piece, and then we're done. Okay, we've got to the part where I'm joining the two halves together, and it has gotten super heavy and harder to manage, so I've just laid it on the bed here, and I'm going to go ahead and pin these together. And I'm going to start at a sashing cornerstone area here towards the middle of the quilt, and then pin out both ways from that, just so I get everything lined up. And then we'll be able to sew that and then add the two end corner triangles on, and then it is ready for quilting. So I'm just going to keep pinning this, and then we'll go ahead and stitch that on. Okay, I got a different angle here so that you can kind of see the quilt. All the weight of it's going to be over here. I've got it again on this ironing board, and I've kind of folded it up in my lap a little bit, kind of like an accordion type fold. And you just want to be careful of the pins because there are lots of pins there. And I'm going to go ahead and start stitching, and I have found it helpful throughout the process that if the sashing strip is on top, I'm getting a better result of like easing it in and having my seams line up at my cornerstones, that kind of thing. So find what works best for you, and we'll go ahead and get started here. And we'll pull it up here and take a look at it. And it looks good. Okay, we can go ahead and press that. I'm kind of just going to do a finger press, and then one of my corner squares is going to go on right here, or that corner triangle setting piece. So I'm going to kind of wad all this up here again, so it's just being held out of the way. And then I'm going to fold this in half so I can find the center point. And I will just put a pin where the center of this square piece is. Okay, and then I'll take my next triangle, and then this one we are using that bias edge. So I'm going to fold that together and find the center, and then line that right up where that pin is. And I'll pin it in place there and down this side. And again, it's gonna overhang, or it's just gonna not come all the way to the end of this corner square, but that's okay because we're gonna cut those pieces that are sticking out. We're gonna cut those off here in a little bit. But go ahead and just stitch this on until you get to the end of the triangle. And we'll put another pin there at that side. Okay, so we'll go ahead and sew this piece on. And again, I just kind of have it jumbled up out of the way there. And just being careful that nothing is underneath. Any part of the quilt is tucked up under where I'm sewing, so I wouldn't want to catch that in the seams. So we'll go ahead and get that stitched. And I'm just going to remove the pins as I go. Okay, I'm going to trim some of my threads there. And then I'm going to just kind of finger press that. And so we can see that now we have that corner piece added on. And we have one more to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now.